Michael Sabatini of Attacker. Welcome to 69 Faces of Rock. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very good. It's a little early in the morning, but I think I'm okay. I
Uh-huh.
have I have my I have my cup of coffee, so I'm good to go.
So you got a new album, The God Particle.
Yes.
Approach, approach this new album. Was there a plan?
Honestly, not really. We started writing some of the songs kind of right about the time COVID hit, and then everything got shut down. We get back a little bit after that, and it was kind of funny. We were stuck on three songs for probably about 2 years. Where every time we try to add more songs, just for some reason we just couldn't get the wheels going. After the COVID thing, it's almost like we got lazy because we didn't rehearse for a long time, and it took a while. But then all of a sudden, all the songs started coming out, and you know, pretty much. I mean, probably right before we started to record, we had finished up one or two songs too. So it was kind of right to the deadline that we got everything done. As far as the songs themselves.
There's definitely a spark and enthusiasm when I listen to the new album. How do you maintain that after 4 decades?
I think because we love music. I mean, music's in our blood. Some people are sports people, some people are, whatever they like. For us, it's, music just is, it's like our life. I mean, we don't do it for a living, but it's so ingrained in us personally that, that's what comes out. And I'm sure that some of the time off kind of, gave us a little bit of spark to want to get moving again too. Have a little excitement with it. And again, we're happy with how everything came out. I mean, listen, bands, all you can do is write what you write. You can't really try to write something. You have to just do it naturally and then hope people like it. So that's what we do pretty much on all the albums. We write the stuff. All right, if we like it, good. We hope everybody else likes it. But it's definitely the love of music and doing what we do that why we keep doing it, and I guess we're excited to do it.
How would you describe the band's progression from, let's say, your first album 40 years ago or 39 years ago?
Well, here's the interesting thing. Because we've had a lot of member changes, a lot of our progression has to do with different writers. The first album was predominantly Jim Mooney, who unfortunately passed away. The second album was our bass player Lou Charlo, who wrote 99.9% of the music and the lyrics. Then we get to the third album, and that was kind of there was some from Lou. I actually wrote two songs on it. I wrote all the lyrics. And the other guys, Pat, who is no longer with us, and a current guitar player, Mike Benetatis, he picked up. So that was like a conglomeration. But having not written this kind of stuff from when we originally stopped playing with Attacker in like '89, and then trying to pick it up again, and it was probably about 2001 when we started thinking about doing the third record, or 2002. It's kind of hard to get back on that bicycle right off the bat. So the third album, Soul Taker, was kind of like us finding our feet again, getting on solid ground. Then when we got to the fourth album, it kind of gelled a little more. And once we got to the fifth album, the Giants of Canaan album, that's where Mike Benetatos pretty much took over pretty much almost all the songwriting. So every album has it's a little bit different. I mean, like stylistically, we're not like Iron Maiden where it's kind of, we have the same style on every album. It's a little different. The only constants are I was drumming on every album, and our vocalists have always been like a high range type of singer. But musically, the new album compared to the first one, it's kind of like night and day. It's two different kind of styles. But what's funny is people still say that you guys sound exactly like Attacker. So we still maintain some common thread that people say, hey, it's still us.
It's sad you talk about the band members. I mean, I checked out some of like the background information, and when I saw the list of ex-band members, these guys could form their own Attackers.
Here's the thing. We've had four guys in the history of the band that have passed away. We had the original bass player from when we were first started, and the only thing he was on was when we were on Metal Massacre 5 on Metal Blade with our song called On the Attacker. His bass was on that album. Then we had two guitar players pass away: Jim Mooney from the first album and Tom D'Amico, who took Jim's place on the second album. He had passed away, and and our second singer, John Leone, he had passed away in in the early 90s from cancer. So here's the part where I have to knock on wood for luck, because we've lost 2 guitar players, a bass player, and a singer. I'm the only drummer. So I'm the piece of that puzzle that if they're up in the sky somewhere, the only thing they don't have is a drummer, unless they got John Bonham playing or something like that. So it's I think about that a lot. I'm like, we've lost one of each member except for drummer, and I'm the only guy still left standing from the original lineup.
So it's so many changes and trauma because of all these guys who are gone now. You cannot
Yeah.
even reminisce about the old days. What would you say keeps this band going?
Again, here's the thing. I mean, we stopped in '89, and it was actually myself and the bass player Lou had started another band called Jersey Dogs. We were like a little heavier and stuff. But what really happened was when Jim Mooney, our guitar player, he passed away in 2000. We had all gone to his funeral service and the wake, and our bass player Lou, original bass player, said, "Hey, why don't we do a third album and dedicate it to Jim?" So really, I don't know if Jim Mooney had not passed away, if we would be doing this right now. We kind of did it for him, and also our second singer, John Leone, and the other 2 guys I mentioned. We had found out that Tom D'Amico, the guitar player, he had died in 2001, but we had no idea, So really, what we did was we came back to kind of honor, ultimately honor everybody, But we probably wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for that. But ever since then, one of the reasons why is, the first time we ever went to Europe was in 2004 to play the second edition of the Keep It True Festival. Once we went there and saw like how many people appreciated what we did back in the day, that kind of changed our perspective too. Because we didn't know, we did those albums 35, 40 years ago. And but at the time was less years, but we had no idea that people actually wanted to see us. So when we went to Germany that time, before we went on, there was you're familiar with the German band Wizard?
Yes.
Yeah, well, they were on right before us. Now the whole crowd is chanting, singing with them, doing it. We're backstage. We're basically crapping our pants because we're like, is anybody even going to be up front watching us? Like, we had no idea what to expect, and it was the complete opposite. Great crowd, everybody's into it, singing. And I think, if anything, I will tell you, I think European shows is really what have kept us going. I think that's the real thing, because we've gotten to go back and play so many countries and meet so many great people and make friends. That's really what keeps us going. If it was the US only, I don't think we'd be here if we were just playing here.
No, the European fans are faithful forever.
Oh, absolutely. And again, we've met some of the most amazing people from all over Europe. And again, when they say to us, "Oh, we're your fans," I'm like, "No, you're my friend." I look at them more as friends than fans, because for me to have fans, I probably have to be making millions of dollars. That you might have fans. Like I said, to me, these people, we see them at all the festivals all the time. We're always, we still communicate. So I'm like, you guys are my friends. So that's actually probably the coolest thing about doing all this is the fact that we got to meet all these great people. So that's a big thing. That's a big part of it too.
Sure. In your opinion, at what point did Attacker define its musical style?
That's kind of a tough question, because again,
It is tough because
because it's the first album, it's just, well, when we did the first album, we actually had some reviews where people were saying it almost had a jazzy element to it on some of the songs. Like it wasn't straight ahead like crunch type metal. It was very riffy. But again, that was our original guitar player, Jim Mooney. He was a little older than us, a couple of years. His influences were all the 70s bands. So he was bringing the hard rock element into it as well as, a little bit of the metallic stuff. So, when we got to the second album, we basically, they were categorizing that as we were now a speed metal band, because it was a fast album, a lot of fast songs, stuff like that. So it's really hard to define that, because, we really never had a one direction sound. It's always kind of morphed as we went on. It changed a little more. Like the new album, there's stuff that's a little, it's probably as heavy as anything we've ever written, or heavier. So, it's really tough to say that. I don't think I could pick a point where it really defined it. I think every album defines us for that time period. You know, that's really what the best I could say.
I have to agree with that because when I went back and listened to some of those records, I had that question and I couldn't answer it. And I figured I'm gonna throw it at you and see what you come up with, and
Yeah.
on the same path here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we write what we write, and whatever comes out comes out. And like I said, other than having high singers and my style of drumming throughout, everything else is kind of, you know, every album has been, you know, a little different. You know, like I said, with Mike Benetatos writing the bulk of the Giants of Canaan album, Sins of the World album, or pretty much most of it musically, that kind of had a little bit of a sameness to it because it's his style. You know, so that's the thing. If one guy writes throughout the history of the band, you're probably going to have more of a similar style album to album. But because of all our changes, we kind of went boom, 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 you know, changed a lot, which that might have benefited us too, because we have a lot of people that say that we're one of the few older bands that still put out music that they, you know, holds up to what we did in the past. That might be because of different writers. You know, if we had the same guy writing from the first album, 40 years later, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of hard to capture what you did when you were young. So maybe all those changes have kept us fresher, you know, where we didn't stay stale and do the same thing over and over.
So what direction is the God Particle taking you in? Tell me something about some of these songs.
Well, it's actually kind of a dark album because our singer Bobby writes all the lyrics. So, you know, ever since he joined, he does all the lyrics. And songs like The God Particle, you know, Curse of Creation, The Mighty Have Fallen, you know, things like that. They're darker songs. You know what I mean? I guess he's looking at the world for what's going on, and it's definitely more. It's almost like, you know, even one of the opening song, Knights of Terror. That's actually about like some kind of like zombie Knights of Templar. You know, because he delves into all that stuff. So really, it's kind of a darker album, I guess, that reflects the times that we're in. You know, and a lot of people have commented that, you know, is it a concept album? I said no. I said it just has a thread through it that there's a lot of like things about what could be bad in the world, you know, and things going wrong or could go wrong.
Yeah.
But you know, other than that, that's really where the album is, and obviously the title song and the album itself, the cover, that's about that hadron particle collider in Switzerland, where there's been talk that they're trying to use that to open other dimensions, like you know, like you hear about interdimensional beings and stuff. They're supposedly trying to use that to open those kind of portals, and also bring in, like, you know, demonic forces, you know, into this world. So that's what the cover depicts, and that's what the song's about. And that, like I said, that theme of not having some great things going on in the world is really what goes on in the album, if you read all the lyrics.
Um, each time I watch the news, I'm pretty much aware that there are a lot of demonic forces already out there.
That's well. I mean, the truth of the matter is, look at a lot of the like either music award shows or sporting events. Most of the like the halftime shows, it's always somebody, you know, with some kind of red light on them, or you know, even like, you know, they're all wearing like demonic type stuff. Even think about a couple years ago when Joe Biden gave a speech. I think it was maybe two and a half years ago. I think it was at Independence Hall in Philadelphia, and he had the whole backdrop bathed in red light. You know, why is it red? So I think there is a lot of demonics type stuff trying to be pulled in, and that's what the record reflects, that there's a lot of that stuff going on.
And by the way, that title is a perfect title for a concept.
You know what? Bobby always comes up with good stuff. I gotta say, everything, you know, half the stuff that he writes about, I've never been a reader in my life. I don't do a lot of reading. So like I see band names and stuff. I don't even know what they mean until I look into it. And I'm like, oh, so he knows it. He knows a lot of biblical stuff with like the Giants of Canaan album. He, like I said, he knows things that he's telling me what it's about. And I'm like, I have no idea. So I appreciate the fact that he puts the time in to look into these things and learn about things that, you know, go right over my head. So
yeah. On the plans, how will you promote this record? Will there be a tour, any appearances?
Tour excuse me. Tour wise, we don't really do tours because, again, number one, people got jobs. You know, I mean, the music business. I mean, probably for a long time now, there's like no money in it unless you were already an established band, or if you're young enough that you can go on the road and tour and live eating bologna off your hand. But for us, we usually do, we look to do festivals. If we could do a couple festivals a year, that's good for us. We'll do some shows where we'll drive, to different states that are like, not so far away, but usually it'll be a fly-in thing to a festival, whether in the US or Europe. And that makes the most sense for us, because if we went on a tour and we're playing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to be playing to like, maybe 20 or 30 people if you're lucky. Because I see a lot of our peer bands who do that. They go on these 30-day tours, and except for the weekends where they'll play to a little more people, they don't really draw a lot of people, and I don't know how they survive, because they got to be losing money, because it costs a lot with gas and hotels and food, you know. Hold on one second. Let me see. Somebody's calling. Let my buddy CJ. Oh yeah, that's my buddy CJ from the band Blood Feast giving me a call.
I know CJ. I got to know him in New York about 2 years ago.
Okay, yeah, a good friend of mine. Yeah,
really good guy. So on the
we were talking about like the touring stuff, whatever. So yeah, I was just saying that for a band like us, it makes sense to do the festivals. You're getting like the most for your money in a sense. You show up at a festival, you're going to have a great crowd. The people know who you are, and you're not expected to draw all these people. And like I said, and on a weeknight, nobody wants to go out anymore on a weeknight. They all got work the next day. That's why for me, best thing to do is the way we've been doing it. We'll do the festival. We'll do a couple shows around the area here, maybe like New York, Jersey. But as far as shows you were asking, we'll be leaving on this coming Tuesday to go to the Keep It True Festival again in Germany. That'll be our third time. And we're actually headlining the warm-up show next Thursday night, which incidentally, that's my birthday. So I get to have a nice show on my birthday, which is kind of cool, and that's a good present. We have, other than that, we just have one other show. We're doing a record release show in June in our home area with Blood Feast, incidentally, because they're putting out a new album, I believe, in May. And other than that, we'll take what comes. I mean, with the festivals, the thing with that is they're always booked a year or so in advance. So if we didn't get on stuff last year for a lot of them this year, we got to wait. We're talking to people now about next year. So that's what we do. You're always kind of pushing it out to, to get to where you have to be. But, like I said, we don't play a lot. I wish we could play more, but it's, it's the nature of what it is. If we were a cover band, yeah, we could play a lot. But, original bands, unless you're packing in the people, it doesn't make sense for us to do crazy tours or anything.
No, not at all. So on the business side of things, what needs to be in place in order for this to work?
Truthfully, it's just business-wise, it's about not losing money. Here's the thing. When we first started going to Europe, we would get paid a small amount and we would have to pay for the rest of it ourselves. But once we started going, then as we went and we did well, we get good reviews for the shows. Now we're at a point where I can get my expenses covered. That's the business part that's most important, because you can do it for a while where you first get to go somewhere and you're excited. Yeah, we'll pay some money to go. Now it's to a point where I feel like we've played enough in Europe. We've done well enough. We at least deserve to have expenses covered, especially when you're playing a festival and they're making a lot of money. It's different if it's a small fest. Then, if it's like 1,000-person festival or 500 people, they can't afford to pay for flights for a couple of bands. So, but business-wise, that's the most important thing for me, is making sure that we're at least self-sufficient, and in the past, luckily, even though we weren't getting paid the full amount to get there, we've done so well with merchandise that we would take what we sell in merchandise, put that in a band bank, and every time we came home from Europe, we would have like $3,000 in the bank. So next time we get a trip, we got some money to balance out what we didn't have. Unfortunately, now after being off with COVID and all that kind of money getting doled out to everybody, now we don't have that anymore. So we're at a point now where it's like if you can't pay my expenses, then we probably can't go because people have mortgages and families. You know, it's just we don't have the money to lay out for that.
That does make sense. Um,
Yeah.
do you have any special plans to celebrate your 40th anniversary, which might be this year or next year, depending if you go by your demo or first album?
Yeah, well, technically, 84 would be the Metal Massacre 5 album. That came out in 84. Our album came in. I mean, you know, it's funny. People bring that up, and I haven't really thought about it because we actually did the Battle at Helm's Deep album full. I think it was probably when was it, 2000? I think it might have been the 30, no, probably was like the 25th anniversary or something like that, whatever it was. And we did it at Keep It True. So because of that, it never gets in my head that, oh yeah, that's right, 40 years for the album will be next year. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do something where we'll play the whole album again, you know, and do that, you know. But realistically, like for instance, at Keep It True this year, what we're doing is we're doing like an 18-song set, and we're gonna do all the albums in chronological order. You know, we're going to do like a history of the band, all except that we're going to wind up ending with one of the older songs. You know, we won't end with a new song. Those we mixed up in the set, but most of it'll be like first album, second album, third album. So we're doing something a little different instead of, you know, mixing them all up. But ultimately, I never really gave any thought to the 40th anniversary, and people keep mentioning that to me, and I'm like, oh, here's the funny part. I always see those things on Facebook or online where people will post the anniversary of an album. I don't even remember the dates of when our albums came out. All I know is the year. And I'll be like, oh, September, whatever it was, Battle at Helm's Deep. Oh, that's when it came out. Okay. I don't even know. So, but apparently people know this stuff and tell me or tell us online.
There are people out there who keep their tabs on
Oh,
everything.
yeah. Like I said, all I know is the year. I don't even, sometimes I don't even remember the months that they were released, but I know they were put out. That's it.
Finally, would you say how rewarding was it to have done this band, to have been part of this musical scene?
It's been I can't even describe how rewarding it is because again, you know, I've always played music throughout all the years, but Attacker was always like that was the main thing. You know, that was the real focus, and you know, I guess the rewarding part, like I said, is the fact that what we did actually mattered to people because we literally before the first time in Europe, we had zero idea. We just thought we put out 2 albums, totally forgotten, whatever. A couple of people remember. So it's rewarding in that sense that we actually, you know, especially when I talk to people who grew up like in communist Poland, you know, or lived in East Germany before the wall fell, and they tell me stories about how they had to smuggle the albums in because you know music, because that stuff was illegal. So that hits hard. That hits home because again, growing up in the U.S., we never dealt with that. You know, we had everything free at our disposal. So that you know, you put all that together, and that's like that's what makes it so rewarding. The fact that we touch people, people still appreciate what we do. We love what we do. So you can't ask for a better, I guess, a better scenario. You know, I couldn't imagine my life without music. Put it to you that way. So this band has given me just, I guess, just a lot of satisfaction. You know, and excitement for music in general.
Sounds great. Thank you for speaking to me, and good luck with the new album and all those appearances.
Mark, thank you very much for having me, and I look forward to seeing this and see how goofy I look on YouTube. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it.